Hello, boys and girls. This is the review of all the book of Acts. And I know some of you haven't completely gone through the book of Acts, but I wanted to go ahead and put it all on there so I don't have to do it again. So here is the review of the book of Acts. And I also have Reese here saying hello to you too. And every once in a while you might hear her bark, and that's Reese. Okay, ABC of Acts. I want us to look at A, Ascension, A, Apostle chosen. The Ascension of Christ, Apostle chosen, Acts chapter 1. Now think with me, what is in Acts chapter 2? That would be B. Acts chapter 2, B, beginning of the church, baptism of 3,000. Acts chapter 3. If you said C, crippled cured, crowd taught, you are correct. Acts chapter 4. If you said D, disciples in jail, disciples share, you're correct. Acts chapter 5. Acts chapter 5 is E, escape from prison, no escape from lying. Remember Ananias and Sapphira. Acts chapter 6. What would that one be? That's F. Faithful men are chosen. Remember the deacons chosen. Acts chapter 6. False witness against Stephen. Acts chapter 7. That would be G. Great sermon of Stephen. Acts chapter 8. Acts chapter 8 is H. Horrible Saul, happy new Christians. Remember Saul persecuted Christians. And also the story of the Philip and the eunuch. Acts chapter 9. If you said I, instructed to change his life, Saul of Tarsus, who later becomes Paul, you're correct. How about Acts chapter 10? Acts chapter 10 is journey to Joppa, J. Journey from Joppa to teach Cornelius. Acts chapter 10. What about Acts chapter 11? Acts chapter 11 is K. Kingdom is for the Gentiles too. What is Acts chapter 12? Acts chapter 12, leader killed. Remember, James is killed and liberated from prison. Liberated means freed from prison. What about Acts chapter 13, M? If you said Acts chapter 13, M is missionary journeys of Paul began, you're correct. And that is the first missionary journey. What about Acts chapter 14? Acts chapter 14 is not gods, just men. Remember, this is Paul and Barnabas. They go into Lystra and the people there think they're gods. But Paul and Barnabas quickly instruct them that they are not. What about Acts chapter 15? That is O. Acts chapter 15. Old law, not binding, and another journey, the second missionary journey. This is where he takes the letters back to those places he had gone in Acts chapter 13 and 14. on the first missionary journey? What about Acts chapter 16? P. Acts chapter 16 is P. Philippian Conversion. Remember the Philippian jailer. What about Acts chapter 17? Acts chapter 17 is Q. Acts chapter 17, questions and quarrels at Thessalonica, Berea, Athens, and Mars Hill. Remember T-BAM. That's a good way to remember the places Paul goes in Acts chapter 17. Okay, what about Acts chapter 18? R, residing with friends in Corinth, reasoning with Apollos. Acts chapter 18. What about Acts chapter 19? Acts chapter 19 is S, speaking out against witchcraft, Silversmith strike. That's Acts chapter 19. What about Acts chapter 20? That would be T, terrible fall in Troas, Eutychus, and tearful farewell. Acts chapter 20. What about Acts chapter 21? Acts chapter 21 and 22, U and V, uproar in Jerusalem, and V, valiant defense and valuable Christians. What about Acts chapter 23? Acts chapter 23 and 24 are W and X, waiting to kill Paul, waiting on trial, then extreme charges against Paul, excuses from Felix, and we know that extreme is E-X-T-R-E-M-E, but the X sound is what we hear, and the X sound is what we hear in excuses. Okay, what would be the next one? Acts 25. Acts 25 and 26 are Y and Z, yet untried by Caesar, and Z, zealous for God before Agrippa. What would be 27? Acts 27. Acts 27 and 28, it's not a letter of the alphabet that comes next, because after Z, there's not anything that comes next. But we have 27 and 28, shipwrecked, safe on Malta, imprisoned in Rome. And that's all of the book of Acts. I hope you learn the rest of these, and we'll be looking for the lessons for the rest of the book of Acts. Goodbye, boys and girls. And Reese says goodbye too.